Hi. I think everyone's wrapping up good discussions, but now we're opening up session 8. So I just welcome everybody to join us to the stage here. So my name is Mel Ochoa. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at Landmark Ventures. Landmark Ventures is very happy to organize the Social Innovation Summit. And we are extremely happy to welcome all of you and thank you for a great last few days. Give yourselves a warm round of applause. Great. More than anything, we love Chicago. This is our first time being in Chicago. We've been at the UN, we've been at the Reagan Building in DC, we've been in Silicon Valley, and so it was really special for us to get to Chicago and make the most out of it. Part of the reason we were so successful in Chicago is because of our partners coming into the city. As you see, we have many partners who helped us get here. We want to thank all of them. And then we also have local partners here in the city, just on an individual level, who helped us tremendously in terms of contacts, in terms of tours, in terms of just networking. And so I can't mention everybody, but essentially if you had an email or call with Zeev or me or anyone on our team, just really thank you for helping us get to Chicago and make the most out of it. We really, really appreciate it. Come back again. That's somebody yelled that. It's a good city to be in, yes. Zeev started the summit by saying, if you come as a stranger, you leave as a friend, which I thought was a very telling remark going into the summit, into the 2 days. Just by a show of hands, how many people are leaving with new friends? Good. I need more friends in general, so I'm hoping that everybody who raised their hands I can count on as friends. It'd be very nice to do that. So now we move into session 8. We call it the urgency of now. Not necessarily the urgency of now, the urgency of 70 minutes from now, because we need to stay in the session and listen, but the urgency of now. As I was thinking about this title, I was thinking about my childhood and my neighborhood. I grew up in Burbank, California, right outside of Los Angeles, and maybe I'm just a dumb kid, I don't know. I played on the train tracks a lot as a kid. I also maybe ate paint chips a lot as a kid, I don't know. But we had a set of train tracks next to my house up on a mound sort of hill, and my friends and I would go up there and we'd put pennies on the tracks. And then when the train went by, you'd go find the penny that was smushed, and it was a lot of fun, but now I realize the danger in it all. So probably won't have my own kids play on train tracks anytime soon. But what was so interesting about these train tracks is that when I would walk to school, there would always be a group of students, a whole set of students, who would come across the train tracks to go to school. And I always wondered what that meant. And so I was a young Sherlock Holmes, and I would go up there and figure it out. And essentially what happened was the school served my area, but then it also served this other area across the tracks. You know, we all know that phrase. And so it served the kids across the tracks. And what these kids would have to do to get to school, because there was really no other way to get to the school, they had to cut a hole in the fence, the Amtrak fence, slip through the hole in the fence, cross 2 sets of tracks with Amtrak trains going back and forth, and get to school. And that was my first realization of the opportunity gap. That even at that young age, because I was living a block away from school, it was so much easier for me to get to school than it was for a host of other kids on the, quote, other side of the tracks. And it really made me mad at a young age. And it still makes me mad that we still deal with an opportunity gap throughout our nation, both literally and figuratively. it really is sometimes fences or tracks that keep kids or keep others from accessing and getting the equality and equity that others have and that we all strive for. And then literally or figuratively, we all know the things that we're working on or we've heard over the last couple days around an opportunity gap. So that was my first chance to really get fired up about an urgency of now, as MLK said so eloquently, the fierce urgency of now, in seeing kids who look like me. And I wasn't a wealthy kid. My great-grandparents came over from Mexico, landed in California. My grandmother was a housekeeper. And so I wasn't far off from those other kids, yet I still saw the opportunity gap, that they had to struggle through a couple barriers to get the same access to the things that I was getting to access to. And it made a huge difference in my life. One of the reasons I still focus on things like the Social Innovation Summit, but another reason why I enjoy seeing everyone in this room really fired up about the issues that we've been talking about over the last couple days. So this opportunity gap that still exists, but literally and figuratively, they were pushing through the barriers for opportunity. Our country is based on reaching for equal opportunity and the right to pursue happiness as the Constitution lays out for us. In 1931, I was looking into this a little more as I was thinking about this, and in 1931, this is when the term American Dream came about. Everyone's heard the term American Dream. I think there's a lot of questions around if the American Dream exists anymore or is as strong as it used to be. But this writer, James Truslow Adams, put the phrase American Dream in his book, and he said, "It's the American dream of a better, richer, and happier life for all citizens of every rank, which is the greatest contribution we have as yet made to the thought and welfare of the world." When our country was forming, George Winthrop alluded to the American dream as a city upon a hill. And then Reagan also said that as a shining city upon the hill. Alex de Tocqueville called the American dream the charm of anticipated success. Horatio Alger, as we all know, wrote stories about the American dream and pulling yourself up by the bootstraps. That was the progress that we as Americans were set out to do, really go from nothing to everything. And throughout history, presidents have pushed more opportunity and more equality for all citizens. Lincoln granted the dream's equal opportunity to slaves. He forged west as we opened up the frontier with the railroad. The Morrill Act created land-grant universities so more Americans could access higher education across the country in the new frontiers and the new lands that were opening up. Wilson supported the voting rights of women. Truman supported the GI Bill, giving access to college for veterans. Johnson supported the Civil Rights Act. And of course, as we all know, Obama supported marriage equality. But in a cautionary sense, FDR once said, "We have come to a clear realization of the fact that true individual freedom cannot exist without economic security and independence. People who are hungry, people who are out of a job, are the stuff of which dictatorships are made." End quote. So FDR said this right after the Great Depression, and the government stepped in and pulled people up by the bootstraps when they couldn't. And now that quote seems fairly relevant today. So what's it been, after about 100 years or so, or less? We've come to see that the American dream has actually become the American extreme. There is a divide between the top 20% of Americans and the other 80%. We are here today, especially in this session, to talk about the urgency of this American extreme and what steps we need to take after the summit. Where do we go from here individually and as a community? As James Adams wrote in 1931 when he introduced the term American Dream, "If the American dream is to come true and to abide with us, it will, at the bottom, depend on the people themselves," the people in this room. So let's hear from some of these people and their work. I want to first introduce Michael Bennett and Mark Pollock. The Bennett Foundation educates underserved children and communities through free, accessible programming in Hawaii, Washington, and Texas. The foundation's Ocean Health Fest impacts thousands of people each year by offering free health screenings, fitness activities, cooking demonstrations, and much more. And Mark Pollock, a very important person in the summit, he's been a partner with us for many years, is an internationally recognized speaker, writer, and consultant on philanthropy and charitable giving, who has guided the philanthropic efforts of an impressive clientele of celebrities, professional athletes, high net worth individuals, and corporations. So please welcome to the stage so we can discuss the urgency of now.